What's up, everyone? Back again, Thralls of Metal. I am Shredlord.
Necrotic Nick.
And we are excited today to bring you, on a Friday no less, as we're recording this, the 13th album from melodeath legends arch enemy, Blood Dynasty.
This comes out on the 28th of March on Century Media Records. This band formed in 1995 in Sweden. This, again, is their 13th album. I think that's all studio albums. I don't think there's any re-recordings in there. I'm definitely not counting any EPs. We actually went over the last album, Deceivers, which was an album we went over. That's kind of the nicest thing I could say about it. I have been a fan of this band since probably Burning Bridges. I heard the song Beast of Man. I was like, dude, that song absolutely rips. Oh, hey, it's got that awesome guitarist that was in Carcass. That was generally enough for me. Pretty much followed up with Wages of Sin and been a fan, I would say ever since, but this band has gone through some eras and changes, and well, this current era, the ALISSA era, I guess we'll call it, no real fault of her own, but it has been kind of uneven. Granted, yeah, still a lot of melodeath chops, but they've kind of hit this stride of material where, I mean, call it Disney on Ice melodeath. It just feels very epic, very bright. Granted, epic rousers have always been a part of this band's sound, but there was always a balance for just good, meaty, vicious songs, despite being a melodeath band.
It feels like their trend now is more towards focusing around ALISSA and this very triumphant, anthemic, sing-along song kind of version of melodeath here. And that has probably been a theme since 2015, 2014 maybe. So it's been a good decade since they've kind of had this sound. My biggest gripe with this whole past decade, though, has easily been that you had Jeff Loomis, one of the best guitar players to ever walk this earth, and they kept him on a very short leash, and he really did not have any opportunity to showcase what he could bring to the sound and the flavor, and then he leaves. And the very first album with him gone, I felt like the Joey Conception, the other guitar player who they have now, I thought he did a great job. He reminds me a lot of Chris Ammett with the dive bombs and the phrasing and stuff, which is really cool. My favorite version of Arch Enemy is when both of those dudes are in the band.
They get along like siblings, though.
Yeah, definitely. And while I think Joey did a great job, I felt like this album had way more spots for leads for Joey than Jeff Loomis ever had. And it was hard for me not to just sit there, and while the leads were good, it's hard for me not to think, man, what would Jeff Loomis have done? And that's just me griping, bygones will be bygones. And honestly, it's for greener pastures as Nevermore is looking to reunite, hopefully with Brandon Ellis, do the right thing. But yeah, as a new guitar player to the band, I think he does bring a couple cool elements back. Chris Ammett did some really cool dive bomb effects in between these awesome shred leads, and I thought Joey did a good job of bringing those back because I felt like in the early Arch Enemy, that was definitely a part of the style.
He's got a style that is distinct from Michael, and that's good because if you're going to do lead trade-offs, I prefer when you hear two different guitarists. He likes these more aggressive, shreddy leads. They're generally very short, but they're pretty tasteful. Joey's got a pretty solid pedigree, too. He played in The Absence. He was in Sanctuary for a moment. And he was with Chris Ammett in Armageddon, which I just think is an interesting connection. I do think that it is awesome that we do get some lead trade-offs because that really wasn't a part of the Loomis era, the ALISSA era with Loomis, whatever you want to call it.
Should have been.
It should have been. But it seemed like, Loomis was just there to play rhythm guitar for the most part because most of the leads were done by Michael at that time. But here we kind of get, again, a bit of a throwback. And that is somewhat musically, too. This, definitely still has all the hallmarks of their recent material. It's epic. It's rousing. A lot of big anthemic tracks on here. Illuminate the Path, the title track. Big, rousing fist pumpers for you to, get your lighters out and then have someone remind you that you can't smoke in this venue. But there are some throwbacks on here too, their heavier material. Mostly I would say that kind of mid-2000s period, the Angela era, which most people absolutely adore. There is some renewed aggression on here. And it's noticeable right from the first track, Dream Stealer. You get kind of that faster pace, at the gates sort of stomp. The riffs are more aggressive. You do have a more anthemic chorus, but it is kind of punctuated with heavy syncopated drums. There's good, solid, chunky riffs across the board in that song. And honestly, I haven't heard them get off to a start like that on an album in a little while. Like, this one is a legit dick kicker. Once you get past the symphonic little intro that sounds like they're queuing up the next animated series for Batman.
Yeah, it starts off with almost like a funeral piano into like something that you would expect to hear. Now, coming to home video from 20th Century Fox. I felt like the Dream Stealer track was a great track to kick off the album with high energy. But then the next two tracks kind of let me down a little bit. The tracks Illuminate the Path and March of the Miscreants both kind of disappointed me after the good start for different reasons. March of the Miscreants was that united, hold hands, and, sing songs together and skip down the forest united metal song, Anytime a band does that, whether it's Judas Priest with United or, We Are One, when Arch Enemy did We Are, those songs never resonated with me ever, and this is no exception.
I liked We Are One.
And Illuminate the Path. The reason I wasn't crazy about that is it was kind of mid-tempo and a little dull until the verse changes came in. And then we get a very rare clean chorus from ALISSA, and that clean chorus just wasn't working for me.
And it's really nothing like against her singing.
No.
Like, I think she's a good singer.
Yeah, she's great at what she does.
Solid vocalist. But here's the thing, like with Arch Enemy, this is one of those bands where I feel like clean vocals have never really been a big thing with them. And initially when they poached ALISSA to be their frontwoman, she comes from the Agonist, which she can do a lot in terms of like vocals. I actually saw the Agonist once years ago and I was like, holy shit, this chick can sing. But honestly, I realized that this is one of those melodeath bands where clean vocals, I don't know, like they honestly just don't really fit because they've always been really good about like locking down the melodies with the guitar work and all the songwriting. Clean vocals are unnecessary. Let them growl their guts out over it. Like, this is more of that, like, at the gates, like, hypocrisy style of, like, melodeath, where a lot of the melody is just carried by the band. So hearing clean vocals when it's already very anthemic, and there's a lot of, like, major chord-driven songs in here anyway, they do feel a little out of place. March of the Miscreants, I like that song with the big syncopated chugs. Like, it comes in very heavy, like, almost something you would hear in, like, a Decapitated album. But it's when they shift over to the bright, united chorus, that's where it kind of loses me. And there's other moments on here where they do that, and it kind of like derails the song, because when they're going for the heavy, it generally works. The Pendulum, great heavy metal gallops, strong, like old school, kind of like heavy metal bite to it, great riffs. It has a lot of like the old character again, but they squeeze in this very bright kind of chorus in there, and it's really bright. Like, you have a lot of soaring melodies on there. It reaches for the sun and almost touches it. And, well, if you're like me, you're kind of rather it didn't, because it kind of takes away from the overall aggressive vibe of the song. Like, I was looking for some solid through and through aggressive songs, and the old school Arch Enemy really knew how to do that.
Another track that was kind of a weird anomaly in here was the song Paper Tiger, because I half like it and I half don't. What I mean by that is, the riffs are great in the song. It almost has like a Megadeth, Judas Priest kind of riff going on, and I'm 1000% here for it. It sounds great. But as part of the verses, she's like growling, oh no, and I don't know why that was funny to me, but it was so like in the moment cheesy to me that I just could not stop laughing.
It's on this heavy breakdown too.
Yeah.
Like, she was like, all right, this is a punchy moment, and then, oh no, like,
oh no. I'm like, what is this comedy? Is this a comedy track?
You could have just said Paper and Tiger and I would have forgiven you there.
Yeah.
Even though I generally kind of turned off by the fact that, like, a lot of bands will just say the fucking name of the song as the chorus. That's just like the lazy man's chorus. But it would have been better than oh no, oh no. Like,
oh no.
I think I would say something much different than, oh no, if I had saw any kind of tiger in the loose, in the wild. I don't know, like, it was an odd fit. Now it sounds like we're definitely, like, making fun of this a little bit, and to a degree we are, but there are some really solid songs on here. Don't Look Down and Liars and Thieves in particular. These two show off some thrashy, nasty, aggressive riffs. Still soaring melodies. Like, you're going to get, like, good guitar harmonies on every single one of these songs. You're going to get cool lead trade-offs. That's pretty much a given. But that kind of like ramped up aggression where it's like more in your face, more snarly, it's not always there. But these two songs in particular just come in just mean as shit. Like, Don't Look Down, kicks off with D beats and riffs that sound like they were plucked off an Overkill album. You get some great double time stomps. Same with Liars and Thieves. That one's honestly maybe my favorite.
It might be the best track on the album, honestly. It's great.
It's maintained energy throughout. The transitions are awesome. Every riff on that song absolutely whoops ass. There's even a cool drum solo in it. They just give him like a cool, like Dave Lombardo-esque extended fill. Like, here, have some fun for a measure. And then they get into like lead trade-offs. It's fast, it's aggro, it's fun. It still has an anthemic quality, but there is considerably less cheese dripped all over it.
Yeah, they dialed back the anthemic and kept it more aggressive, which they definitely did back in the day. Another thing that I was kind of wondering if they would do or looking forward to is, back in the day, as I've been an Arch Enemy fan for a long time, I got to meet them. They were very nice. Michael and Angela are two of the nicest people. I met Chris. He was kind of standoffish. It is what it is. Not everybody's a people person. I don't hold it against him. But I truly love this band, and I love the people in it. Michael Amott was really good for me as a guitar player because, as somebody who listens to a lot of guitar players from the 70s and 80s, if you know guitar playing, Michael Amott, every lead, is doing his best Michael Schenker melodic guitar solo he can. He is a Michael Schenker freak, and while I don't think Michael has the technique that Schenker does, he does have a lot of that good feel and that good phrasing that Schenker does, and he uses it very, very well, and that's always made me a fan of this band, especially when you had the contrast back in the day of someone like Michael doing that, and then someone like Christopher doing the crazy shred over the top leads. To have that contrast was awesome. But the point I was trying to make is, in the earlier days, they would have instrumental guitar tracks like Snowbound. I fail to remember some of the other ones, but basically it'd be a 2 or 3 minute track of like a nice, beautiful kind of guitar interlude. And while we did have an interlude with the song Presage, it was just kind of a real quick, short, classical guitar thing right into the title track, Blood Dynasty. So I was kind of hoping that's what Presage would be. Slightly let down, although it was a good little intro track, and I do appreciate the fact that they didn't rail it on for 30 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, it was like 47 seconds.
Yeah, it almost could have not been there, and you would not have noticed.
If you're a vinyl purchaser, it's the Welcome to Side B track. Like, you flip it, and that's probably exactly what it starts out with. And then you get into the title track, which, honestly, the title track is a good old school heavy metal fucking fist pumper. You know, when this band does anthemic, again, like, I'm very particular about it. Like, if it starts to, get into that cheesy territory, like, no. But if it kind of has, like, a classic heavy metal sort of, like, urgency to it, like, again, like Judas Priest or Dio or something like that, I can get into that. I've been getting into that for years. But for me, like, listening to this, while I do think it's an improvement over the last two for damn sure, and maybe more straightforward and kind of on point than War Eternal was, I feel like this album in particular, they're trying to kind of like get all the fan bases, kind of like rally them up, like give the old school fans some of the stuff that they've been missing, give the fans that they have earned with ALISSA, the Front Woman, the more anthemic stuff, and maybe even kind of roping in some old classic heavy metal heads, like, yeah, those are solid riffs and harmonies. And to their credit, for the most part, I think they do it well. But at the same time, with some of the singles they released, I feel, once again, that I was slightly misled. I might have gotten my hopes up a little bit too high, because both Dream Stealer and Paper Tiger were both lead singles. I believe those were the first two singles they released. Yeah. And they had some urgency. They had some bite to them, even despite the oh no. And then, listening to it, well, again, I do think this is better. I feel like this is still like kind of like a half measure in certain points to where I would like them, but again, it's not my band. And Michael, I believe he still has a clear direction for this band, and I mean, it's not entirely going to be the old school stuff. He wants to keep moving the sound forward and maybe packing bigger venues. I don't know you're going to do that when you don't have Jeff Loomis in there to potentially shred up a storm too. Like, man, there was a lot of wasted potential in that. And I'm still on it. When
Arch Enemy comes out with another album and we review it, I'm not going to bring it up, so I might as well get it all out now. Having Jeff Loomis in your band is like owning a Lamborghini and never taking it past 55 miles an hour. What the fuck's the point?
Yeah, like, if you're a, fucking sports fan, like, this is like signing, like, a star player, and then having them ride the pine and hold a clipboard the entire time they were there. Like, oh, we're working on him. We're trying to build him up. We're going to get him out there soon. Ooh, we're going to trade him now. He's never seen the field.
If there is one real gripe, though, that I kind of have about the album, they throw a cover in here. And kudos to them for giving exposure to this probably band nobody's ever heard of before in the States. What was their name again?
Blaspheme,
Okay.
a French heavy metal act from the 80s.
We're not that familiar, but they do a cover called Vivre Libre. And this just sounded nothing like anything else on the album. It sounded so laid back and mellow and even folky at times that it just did not feel like it should have been on this album.
I felt like we skipped over to like a hair metal album, honestly. Now, again, I've never heard the original, so I can't really like compare it. But it felt like an 80s like power ballad. Like it's got like soft, lush guitars. ALISSA sings beautifully on it. But when that chorus hits, like it's just got the power ballad vibe. And it probably was a power ballad, but that wasn't something that I really kind of had on my list. And I know this band has covered like, Europe and shit before, but this one, again, it just feels like very White Lion, Warrant, Slaughter, not the cool one from Canada, like that sort of thing. And it feels off. Like not a bad cover, I guess. Again, I have to probably listen to the original. The solo on it, pretty damn good. Like, a lot of bendy feelies from Michael, but yeah, I don't know. It feels like something that should have been on like a collection of B-sides, or if they released like
a single or something.
Yeah.
This is like, if this was on cassette tape, you'd almost believe that someone recorded over this album and put that song on there. That's how much it does not make sense on there to me. All right, let's get down to brass tacks, as they say. As I am a huge fan of the early catalog, and I know I have been a big, I don't want to say objector, but a biased reviewer per se as to the new era, I'm going to say that I think this album is probably their strongest of this whole era. It's definitely better than the last two. I'm going to give this a 3.5. I like that they dialed back some of the triumphantness and came back to more of a return to riffs. It was nice to hear the lead guitars breathe a little bit more, even at times reminiscent of Doomsday Machine in certain spots, which was really cool to hear. It's always nice when you hear a familiar sound in a band that you've loved for a long time. So I don't particularly love this album, but I think it's solid on all grounds. The riffs are good, the leads are solid, the vocals are great, the drums and the bass create a great rhythm section, and the production is top notch as always. So I feel like this batch of songs is stronger than the last two, so I'm going to say 3.5.
I am going to go with a 3 still, but it's a stronger 3. Like, I think I gave the last one 2.5, and I do acknowledge that this is definitely an improvement, and maybe the best of the ALISSA era. It's nice to hear some throwbacks to the stuff that I like. Like, I like the more aggressive, punchy songs in here, and to a degree, they did dial back some of the more, like, we can do it sort of vibe in there that I've been just kind of really tired of. Like, this band has never been like the darkest band ever, or like, ooh, they're spooky or evil, but they've been aggressive. They've had a commanding presence, and I feel like some of that's been lost, for the sake of like showmanship and hooks. And, the hooks are still solid. The lead melodies are on point. The guitar leads are great. The riffs, pretty good. But, again, there's still some stuff in here that I wasn't necessarily a fan of, but for the most part, I enjoyed this more than I think maybe any of the other albums in the ALISSA era. So there's definitely some stuff to acknowledge that, I think this band, is kind of on the right track, at least in terms of like revitalizing their sound. Like, this doesn't feel like a rinse and repeat of the last two, thankfully. Could have gone without the cover. Again, it just felt like kind of off on there. But overall, if you're a longtime Arch Enemy fan and you still kind of like hold on to a little bit of that, Angela era, or even back in, Johann's era, there's some stuff on here that are like callbacks to it. It doesn't represent the entire album, but there are some really solid songs in here. And overall, I think their songwriting is pretty damn good for what they do. It's just not necessarily always my thing, but this is an improvement, and yeah, you should check it out. So, if you enjoyed this review, give it a thumbs up, and if you are new to the channel, subscribe, because we do stuff like this all the time. We also have memberships. They're only 99 cents, and our lone perk is doing members-only live streams, which we will probably be doing one sometime in April, like later April. And who knows what we'll talk about. Generally, it's just fun chit-chat, but we might have a theme.
What's that, Skull Man? You want to see if Jam and John will let me kick him in the balls on a live stream? We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, those will probably have to be like super chats. You know, if we get like $100 in super chats, that might actually happen.
Whether John realizes it or not.
He's not going to watch this video. He won't. Surprise! But membership is the main way to support the channel now. We also still have our store, thrallsmetal.com, with our hats and shirts. That is linked down below. And if you would like to become a member of this channel, there's a join button down there for you to do a rousing, epic punch for the gods of metal, or I don't know, whatever the fuck Arch Enemy is singing about in these songs.
Oh,
you can do that. Oh, no. Oh, yes, though, to the button.
And oh yes to you. Last, but certainly not least, thank you so very much for taking the time out of your day to spend with us knuckleheads, as we appreciate each and every one of you greatly. You are the reason for the season, the jelly to my jam, the mustard in my potato salad.
You like the mustard and
I love mustard Amish potato salad.
Okay.
So that should tell you all something.
Yeah, you guys absolutely roll. Tons of content coming in the future. So one more big thank you, because you guys are awesome, and we will catch you later.